The last year and a half has been a challenging one, to say the least. A global pandemic, the resurgence of the Black Lives Matter movement, Israeli-Palestinian conflict, football almost coming home, but not quite, and through that process revealing a racist underbelly of the very society in which we live in. Whoa, that's a whole lot, right? Yes, indeed, indeed. Core Educational Trust created Core Lot, Leaders of Tomorrow, in response to the social and political issues going on in the world, as a way to allow the students to autonomize their emotions and feelings and directly channel it into changing the very society in which we live in, and therefore being a leader of tomorrow. With me, Fela Lufadeju, actor and mentor, at the helm of it. Today, I have with me Zahir Chaudhry. How are you, Zahir?
A bit tired, to be honest.
Tired?
Yeah, I feel half asleep.
Oh, but we'll wake up through this conversation, okay. I'm sure. How have you been doing?
So over the last week, I've been focusing on improving the speech I'm going to read. Yeah, so...
That's been your main focus?
Yeah, it's been my main focus.
Oh, fantastic, yeah. Fantastic.
And it felt a bit busy at times.
Yeah, with the schoolwork and trying to focus on delivering the speech. Yeah,
I've been learning how to balance both.
I know that's something we've spoken about in session in the past.
Yeah.
Balancing the amount of schoolwork that you have with all the other stuff as well. I know a massive interest for you is gaming and chess. I remember the first time I met you, you read a speech about the quiet gaming or quiet activities, creating a space for other students to be able to have those things. Talk to us some more about that.
That was my school council speech for to be elected.
How did you go about creating that speech?
I just spoke to my friends and see what they wanted, and I really wanted to promise those things to them in my speech.
So basically the speech was an ode to your friends and the interests that they had, which weren't necessarily conventional ones. They weren't like, oh, I want to play football or like go and do, it was like they wanted a place in which you could do like in playground hours, have reading activities, play quiet games like chess.
Yes.
Right? I know you play chess?
Yeah, I love playing chess. I always try to get my little brother to play chess at home, but he's not so keen on playing chess.
He's not?
He's not.
But you play Minecraft with him, right?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. So but he's not as interested in chess as he is in Minecraft?
I know he secretly loves it though, but I think he thinks it's boring at first, but when we do get into a game, he does seem more interested in it. Yeah,
that's wonderful. I know that you and your brother are quite close, right? Because how old is your brother?
My brother's 8.
8?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's quite an age difference between you two, but you have such an incredible bond. So how did you get involved with Core Lot?
I could just say that I thought it was an amazing opportunity and I was excited for it, but at first I wasn't so keen on it. However, it was my mum that made me that influenced me to join the Core Lot, and over time I think it's really benefited me, and I'm super grateful, really grateful.
I'm glad, because I remember meeting you and having that initial discussion, and you said some of the things that you went to potentially work on, and we talked about the leader within and what that looked like to you. And when we came to the idea of having this talk initially, you were like, oh, what will I write about? What would I talk, like, what would my talk? And I was like, it's all led by you and through your perspective. So it's the leader within, and then you were like, oh, what about this? What about this? And then you landed on this topic of creativity, right?
It came to me in the most unexpected way. At first, I was looking for topics to talk about. I wanted something psychological to talk about, and I wasn't really getting anywhere. It looked like most of the other students, the topics came to them like more quicker, more straight away.
I think that was the idea in your head, that, you know, you, in comparing yourself, as we often do, to other students, you're like, oh, you know, those ideas came quickly. But I kept reiterating to you that, you know, it's your process. Everyone has their own individual process. And then when you landed on this topic of creativity, you seem to sing, like, because then you realize, you're like, I wouldn't necessarily self-identify as being creative, but creativity looks different to different people.
Yeah, funny thing is, how I ended up writing about creativity, I actually asked myself a question, and I asked myself, maybe I'm not creative enough for this, but at the same time, I don't know what creativity is, so that's why I wanted to write it. Yeah,
that's what piqued your interest into the, oh, you know what? Like, maybe I'm not creative for this, but then what is creativity? And then asking the question and question and question again. I like that idea of like constantly asking ourselves why and why and why, rather than saying, I'm not creative enough for this and then backing out, but going, I'm not creative enough for this. Where does that come from? What is creativity? And why do I feel I'm not creative? You get what I mean? That's the psychology behind the actual wanting to, because sometimes we can go into something and the fear of it makes us want to back out. But actually, I always say, on the precipice of fear is magic, because it's where you lose this idea of who you think you are and you springboard into other things, you know? Because now, here you are about to deliver this fantastic talk that you're about to do. And who would have said that at the beginning of the year, you would have thought you would be doing it, right? So I know you have a wonderful speech here prepared for us today about creativity. So if we could hear that, that would be wonderful.
Life is full of choices, some big, some small. They determine who we are, but don't grant prosperity in all. People wonder about the other path. It is something that only God knows. Whether it's regret or nostalgia, with choices you can only grow. Make sure you live by choice, nothing else. Not sitting in someone's shadow concealed. You're here to direct your own story. Fate is never sealed. Being 14, my whole life ahead of me. Time to be brave and face the world head on. I may make bad choices, good choices, but I will ensure life is a memorable one. This is a poem I got published this year. It's called Choices. I'm very proud and surprised even it got published. Originally, my poem did not start well. I did not know where to begin. However, as I compared what I had to other poems and saw what was good and what was bad, my poem gradually became better. It turned into the very poem I have here. My name is Zahir Chowdhury, and many times I've questioned my creativity. A few months ago, though, I didn't even know what creativity meant, which is the thing that sparked my passion to write this talk. Many other things happened in the past few months, such as choosing my GCSE options. GCSE options are classed under creative and non-creative subjects. My creative subject is DT, Design and Technology, and my non-creative subject is History. I'm going to be using my options to hopefully clarify my point. I want you to understand why DT is called creative and history not. There are many talks on creativity, however they don't always explain what creativity means. Listening to this, you'll be able to enhance your understanding of what creativity is and use this when listening to other ideas. So what is creativity? As it is a broad topic, and has only been researched in the last couple of decades. I'm going to tell you what I understand from this. Creativity, as I once thought, is not the actual ideas that you think of. It's the connections of ideas. From birth, ideas and knowledge are put into the human's mind, and links are made between these ideas. In fact, this happens the most proficiently between being born and the age of 3, which is why babies learn the most things and are deemed creative geniuses. The things you know and creativity therefore go hand in hand, because they can't be binding without there being nothing to bind to. It doesn't necessarily have to be academic knowledge that links with creativity. It can just simply be past experiences. And because everyone's past experiences are different, so will everyone's creativity. Let's talk about Steve Jobs. He's the founder of Apple, one of the most dynamic computer companies. As a person who played a major part in the company, Steve Jobs must have been creative. He once said, "When you ask creative people how they did something, they feel a little guilty because they didn't really do it. They just saw something. It seemed obvious to them after a while. That's because they were able to connect experience they've had and synthesize new things." What I understand from this is that everyone is creative. I know that seems like a big leap of a conclusion from the quote, so let me explain. The topic is revisited about connecting past experiences, and Jobs says synthesizing new things. Therefore, all the ideas are already in your head, but it's just about seeing them in a new way. I'd like to think of creativity as the Force from Star Wars. The Force, it's all around us. It's just about how we use it. As I mentioned, DT was my creative subject, and history was my non-creative subject. In DT, it's about the planning, designing, and making of the products people use. Over the years, you study, you learn about the types of energies and materials, and in the exam, you make a product. This is creative because the things you learn are connected in ways that make something new. In the history exam, however, the way you can connect ideas are limited, therefore restricting creativity. There's nothing completely wrong with that, of course. I love history. In fact, history as a whole, not just the school subject, explodes with creativity. It's all about using sources from the past so you can piece together what could have happened. We now know that we can all be creative because creativity is like the Force. There are ways to allow you to sharpen your thinking. If you don't have an extensive knowledge, it will be hard to link ideas and hard to be creative. This is why reading books are important, as you gain knowledge while experiencing people's creativity. Movies and TV shows have similar effect. However, it limits your imagination, and a book requires your full attention to read it. Focus is crucial for learning. You must practice. You can practice your creativity by working on a project or creating a story. This can be from writing a whole book to just a sentence. Creating regularly allows you to practice making connections. When you do create something for the first time, it may not be up to standards, which is fine. because a piece must be ugly before turned beautiful. As I did with my poem, what you need to do from here is analyse your successes and failures. This can be from self-evaluation, or a better method is taking constructive criticism from others. There is no limit to creativity. I actually know this from a recent encounter. I asked my art teacher, do you think you are at your most creative potential? She said, we never reach our creative potential, as there is always something more to learn and develop. If you can always learn something, there is always something new that your brain can link together. Every day, we learn and influence our creativity, and with age, we become more creative. Therefore, improving your creativity is a waiting game. Most creative breakthroughs happen in at least 10 years after starting a career. People have sped up this process by improving their creative thinking in their own ways. There's no specific way to do this. Different methods will work for different people. It's about trial and error and seeing what works best for you. You can try the methods I've mentioned or do some research of your own. I'm still not sure what works for me. What is the best way you can develop your creativity?
Fantastic, fantastic, Zahir. Well, take a seat, take a seat. Thank you for sharing that insight with us. Really posing the question, what is the best way that you can develop your creativity? It's incredible. So, as you said earlier on, the process of you creating this speech, like how would you say that that's helped you along with core law over the last year? Like how would you evaluate it all?
Core law has made me see topics or viewpoints in different ways and different perspectives.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. And now that you've chosen your options, what are your options again? I know DT, history.
Yeah,
those are two of the options. What else?
And IT.
And IT.
Yeah.
Okay. So going into year 10, how do you feel about the prospect of next year?
It feels like in year 7, in year 8, in year 9, that was only the build-up to year 10 and year 11. It felt like all the planning's been done, and now I just need to focus on what I'm doing and work to the best that I can do.
Earlier years of secondary school is like kind of the build-up to the event of the GCSEs. And I can't wait to see what next year has in store for you, because I'm sure it will be something great, and another opportunity to be on the student council, I hope, and write another wonderful speech and all the different projects that may come your way as well. Thank you so much for sharing that speech with us and giving us some insight to creativity. I've never looked at creativity from that angle before. So thank you very much indeed. As you can see, Zahir is a very inquisitive and a curious young man that has so many different ideas about viewing many different perspectives. He's part of a greater project in which Corla allows and gives opportunities for the students in the core schools to be able to give us insight into their viewpoints and how they see the leader within. Be sure to check it out. Thank you.